Good morning. God's complex. The interpretation of God's complex, according to the dictionary, well, it doesn't exist in the dictionary anyway. They use it in psychology. They say decision is made by someone when there is no other decision taken by someone but anyone else except by the concerned person. It's after me, that's it. It's I'm the last person. They refer it to someone who takes a decision in a very severe situation, complex situations. He has to take a decision. He has to be, to take a definite decision because it's a very limited time. This is what they say in the dictionary, terrestrial dictionary. In a celestial dictionary, it's not that. No. It's what the person is hiding within himself. In other words, I'm the one who decides, no one else. I'm at the top of people. Authoritarianism, a domineering person, that's what it means. Now, we have in history someone who said, I am God, who is Pharaoh in ancient Egyptian civilization, as they call it, civilization. I don't know, somehow, whenever people speak about this civilization, they refer it to the pharaohs. They say pharaonic civilization, Egyptian civilization, but they never mention Moses, peace be upon him. Moses, with the cane, what kind of civilization? We want to see something like a milestone. Civilization hidden within a human's consciousness, in his heart, to build the mind. We don't consider this a civilization. We want civilization of offensive, defensive, structure, superstructure. That's what we call civilization. So, God's complex. You know what they say in Sufism? They say every human being hides within himself the idea of I'm your supreme Lord. Except that Pharaoh was sincere when he verbalized it, and others, they hide it. That's really strange. Everybody hides within himself this feeling, I'm your supreme Lord, because Pharaoh said it, I'm your supreme Lord. This morning, in a front page of the newspaper, Divine newspaper, God sent angel Gabriel to Pharaoh in a physiognomy of a human being. He entered the house, the big palace, kingdom where Pharaoh resides. Somehow he managed to be there, to enter it, even despite the fact they had a lot of bodyguards, but he managed to be there in front of him. Pharaoh, because of his glory, flamboyance, self-aggrandizement, he was going to react. Then Angel Gabriel, peace be upon him, surprised him. He said, "Oh Pharaoh, could you tell them or tell us what should be the consequence of someone who pretends to be God?" When Pharaoh heard this, he felt a little bit comfortable because this person is going to confirm that Pharaoh, no one will challenge you. He thought about him. Pharaoh responded to Angel Gabriel. He said he deserved to be drowned in the sea. In other words, he doesn't deserve to be even buried. He doesn't deserve to be cremated, mummified, not at all. He should disappear in the sea. Angel Gabriel told him, "Oh Pharaoh, please, would you please write this?" he gave him something like a skin of an animal. He said, could you write this with your signature hieroglyphically? You know, the hieroglyphic, these are the letters of the pharaohs. He was using it between only his army, how to manage, and his administration. Nobody knew what those hieroglyphics were. Then he signed it. You know, Pharaoh signed it. The one who pretends to be God deserves to be drowned in the sea. We leave this aside. Pharaoh was so powerful, me, myself, and I, glory, army, money. That administration was composed of three personalities. Try to understand what is behind. You have Pharaoh, the self-aggrandizement, authoritarianism, authoritarian person. Next to him you have Haman, the one who was like in charge of the army but counselor at the same time. He was behind him. You have Korah, that's in the Bible, Korah, in the Quran, Qarun, the one who was supporting that regime with his banking system. Check it out, by the way. Check how much money he had, what kind of fortune he had. Well, this is the three personalities plus the magicians. These are in charge of the cover-up campaign of the corporate media. They protected the government or monopoly. These are the magicians. So this is the government. And the reflection, or I should say the persona, frequency of each one of them, there was a persona or a frequency in the population, in a mass popular, political philosophy, public policy, linked one way or the other. Haman, the self-aggrandizement, Pharaoh, the self-aggrandizement, Haman, the ego defense mechanism, I'm right no matter what. The financial center, Korah, represent the challenge. I dare you. And he was supporting that system with his banking system, or that government with his banking system. Now, he was so powerful, he didn't know his limits, up to the point that he proclaimed to his people, and he said, I'm your supreme Lord. I am God. He reached the point, or I should say, the climax, up to the point that he dreamt there would be a challenger. You know, there was in his subconscious a challenger. He created this by himself. A challenger, he will challenge my kingdom, my power. He feared this person. He created him. The word creation is not perhaps the appropriate word, but just allow it. You know, when you try to bring something from nothingness into existence, you are a creator. That cannot be. Only the creator who does that. God sent him through the rivers to his kingdom, the challenger. His name is Moses, peace be upon him. Before Moses' appearance, Pharaoh dreamt that his kingdom will collapse through the hands of a baby, yet to be born this year, and he is from the children of Israel, community that he subjugated. Discriminated, subjugated, humiliated. This is what he was doing. By the time he woke up, this is the Pharaonic mentality. He gave orders that all the babies who were born that year to be slaughtered. It's a story, it's a myth. Everyone has his own taste. You know, his absorption, or I should predisposed mentality to accept and to leave it aside or whatever. He slaughtered all the babies. Mother's mom, by the divine inspiration, he told her to put it in a basket, a coffin. It's death when you look at it from outside, inside his life, and put it in a river. The waves of the river took Moses, peace be upon him, all the way to Pharaoh's administration, the white solipsistic palace. He is the one, Pharaoh was the one who adopted him, not him. It's against his will. It's the first lady, her name is Asya. He developed his own weaknesses in his own kingdom. Between brackets, what is the story about Moses, peace be upon him, or Jesus, or any other prophet of God? Do you know what happened in that particular era? That era is transferable, transiting beyond time and space in all the time up to the end of the world. What happened in that particular era, it's happening right now. Some people, I call them people of wisdom, they check, they dive with a scuba diver, scuba diving material of their mind. And they understand every single frequency of what happened back then and what is its reenactment today. Others, they just leave the table of intellectualism and they claim intellectualism with a piece of paper, they put it on the wall and they call it diploma. Different. Esoteric, exoteric. Moses is representing this, the antithesis force against the pharaonic system. Did he use any force? Did he? Nothing. Why we are talking about this? Here we go. Moses reached the age, became adult, left for some reason. Doesn't pertain our topic today. When he was given the divine message to go to Pharaoh, two messages. One is for Pharaoh, another one for the children of Israel. God told him with his brother Aaron, peace be upon them, he said, go to Pharaoh and tell him soft words. Use soft words. قُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ وَيَخْشَى. A man like this guy who slaughtered babies, without exception, they hear the slightest cry of a baby, they slaughter him. It's not a joke. Can you imagine? They slaughtered all the babies. But the concerned one, the targeted one, is not anywhere. Or is not elsewhere, but he is somewhere. Where? He is under the chair of Pharaoh. You get my point here? So, the other mission to the children of Israel, he said, rescue your people from the obscurantism and remind them of God's days. قُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ وَيَخْشَى. This is to Pharaoh, to the children of Israel. أخرج قومك من الظلمات إلى النور وذكرهم بأيام الله. Obscurantism is not obscurity. Obscurantism, definition deep of the obscurantism is when people are not aware that they are living in the obscurity. They have been brainwashed, indoctrinated, conditioned, that's it. They see it normal, that's it. To rescue people, he didn't say, أخرج قومك. He said to rescue people, that's the biggest mission on earth. So far, what you hear in those revolutions in the world, they shift you from one regime, the pharaonic regime, to another pharaonic regime with a different name. It's the same symphony, it is just sung or played by different troops. Anyway, when he went to Pharaoh, he said, Pharaoh, I was sent, by God. And he said, who is this God? He said, God who created the world and this. He was telling him. Pharaoh was looking for a target. He tried to idolize a God because in his mind there is a challenger. The pharaonic systems, they have always, if you are on the moon, having a good technology, peacefully, they go to you and they bomb you. Because he lives within his own subconscious, he lived with the challenger, I dare you. They fear the second. The duality is existing, they created it by themselves. And then they look for it in the external world. Moses was in Pharaoh's subconscious, potential, before he became actual. He was looking, as I said, for someone to defy. Moses was showing him the power, God's power, in time and space. Pharaoh couldn't find anything. He said, ما بال القرون الأولى? What about the previous centuries? He said, God knows best. I'm a servant like you, I'm a human. Pharaoh didn't want to hear the word God or someone or a challenger doesn't exist. Then, when he found himself squeezed in front of his counselors, intimidated by logic, he said, إِنَّ رَسُولَكُمْ الَّذِي أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْكُمْ لَمَجْنُونَ. Though this messenger was sent to you, he's a crazy or he's a madman. Then Moses showed him with the stake, the cane. He said, what about if I show you God's signs? He said, go ahead, show it. He showed him the snake. We know it became a reptile, a big reptile. And then the story continued. Pharaoh was aware about the truth, but he was escaping it. Let's take Pharaoh and put him through the test of a polygraph test. A lie detector. Will you find him being a liar or not? Of course. There is the heartbeats, even the eyes, even the nervous system, anything. You scrutinize Pharaoh during that time, he knew there is God above him. But he was zigzagging. He tried to defy, tried to avoid. Here, a human being he can spoil the external whatever are. He can win an argument. He can win a debate. He can win a battle. But the principles of reality remain intact in his mind before they are spoiled. I emphasize this. Go ahead, one after another, one event after another, up to the end. How God described Pharaoh and his people. There was a stage where Moses came back to him every moment. He said he didn't want to go back. God showed him the signs, all those natural disasters, what were happening back then, He never gave up. Always God. Up to one day, he said, my people, don't I have the kingdom of Egypt? And those rivers, they flow at my feet. Am I not better than this despicable person who can barely express his speech wherever? He was against Moses. Situations start getting a little complex, severe. أليس لي ملك مصر وهذه الأنهار تجري من تحتي أمن خير من هذا الذي هو مهين ولا يكاد يبين. He's talking about Moses and Moses, God of Moses. So, before the end, what happened to Pharaoh? God said, وَزُيِّنَ لِفِرْعَوْنَ سُوءُ عَمَلِهِ فَرَآهُ حَسَنًا. Pharaoh became blinded by his decision. This is what is God's complex. All the decisions taken at his administration, that's it. زُيِّنَ لِفِرْعَوْنَ, it was put in a passive voice. What he was doing was that he was seeing that he saw that it was normalized in front of his eyes and in his mind. He couldn't distinguish between right and good and evil, lies and truth. No longer. Close to the end, follow those stages. Close to the end, God described not only Pharaoh, all his administration with people, because people, they belong to him. He said in one verse, استخف قومه فأطاعوه إنهم كانوا قوما فاسقين. He humiliated his people and they obeyed him. At the end, as I said, close to the end, he said, وجحدوا بها واستيقنتها أنفسهم ظلما وعلوا. He said, جحدوا. The word جحد is to camouflage by force. What to camouflage what? The impulse of the truth that pops up to the surface of the conscience like air bubbles to the surface of the water. It is more powerful than a volcano, than a magma, to tell you the truth. But the pharaonic system, through their corporate media, the magicians, they camouflage. They want to win a resolution to invade, to kill. They monopolize all newspapers. They monopolize the media. They monopolize everything. They camouflage it by force. This is a juhud. And then he said, and their soul became happy, comfortable. They became comfortable with that. جحدوا بها واستيقنتها. They became certain. They became sure and certain with what they were doing was right. Getting back to the lie detector. Earlier, when Moses spoke to him, you will find the reaction that he was lying. Pharaoh and his people. At the end, you won't find a reaction because he believes in his lies. When the administration reaches this stage, that's it. Earlier, what happened? To say, Pharaoh, you were wrong. There's God above you. Pharaoh was lying. The forces were so powerful to reach the surface of his conscience. He was camouflaging it. And then they go back and they camouflage it. And then it goes back and camouflage it. But the forces start diminishing, up to the point they die. Then here he's comfortable. Same thing when you say to the person you're wrong, no. He justifies with alibis his wrongdoing. And then that's it. He kills the impulse, la pulsion. Impulse that is a healthy impulse that goes to the surface of his conscience. Now he killed it. وجحدوا بها واستيقنتها أنفسهم ظلما وعلوا. He gave الظلم. You say dhulm is darkness. It's like they like to live in this kind of darkness. God used it as an adverb. علوا with grandiosity. It's very rich Arabic. You read this, understand? Here's the time when God asked Moses to travel at night by night. Weird. أسري بقومي لك ليلا. Isra is a verb already that shows traveling at night, by night. It's not my topic to go into those literature's terms. He struck the sea and the sea split into two. Big. Pharaoh was following him. Why Pharaoh was following Moses? Why are you following him? He didn't show any type of aggressivity, any kind of defensive, offensive. He was very passive. Why? To show you what is God's complex. It creates forces in the person's subconscious without realizing it. This is the first one, God's complex. The second one is the propaganda campaign that he fabricated against Moses, up to the point, look at that he said, Kill Moses. He came on TV and he said Moses is among the terrorists. Kill Moses. I fear that he will change your religion and he will cause mischief on the land. Yesterday, Pharaoh slaughtered babies. He overthrew regimes in the world. In all the cardinal points, overthrowing regimes, plunging their populations into chaos, poverty, prostitution, epidemics, all with the usury in the world, embargo against poor people. And he said Moses is kill Moses. اقتلوا موسى إني أخاف أن يبدل دينكم وأن يظهر في الأرض الفساد. It's like this. يظهر في الأرض الفساد. Moses is going to cause mischief in the land. It should be pointed out that Pharaoh's nation is the only nation that was condemned by the World Court for sponsoring terrorism in the Security Council. The only one. All what he did, slaughtering babies and this, and then he said he's causing mischief in the land. One propaganda campaign after another, then, well, if you come and tell him, where could you just tell us what did he do, this man? Understand? So this is the pharaonic system. He created forces when he reached the sea. It's obvious, very simple. You know, you can see a miracle in front of you. And he showed you the miracle that belongs to God, doesn't belong to Moses, peace be upon him. The children of Israel crossed the dry path. Go back. He can't. He is controlled by compulsive forces. What do we mean compulsive? These are irresistible forces that control the administration. It's no longer controlling. A decision is impulsive. Actions are compulsive. He's dragged. If he goes back, he won't be able to intimidate the world. He has to go to invade one country and after another, continuing wherever. Have you seen him going, spreading anything good in the world? Supplying arms. And of course, there is a warm welcome from everywhere in the world. Minority, we don't know that, but you can see that. Especially in the Arab world. Muslims. Yeah. At the end, and then Pharaoh was drowned in the sea in his army. Earlier when we spoke about the gentleman, peace be upon him, that's Angel Gabriel, who came to him and showed him, asked him to sign that hieroglyphic. He came to him, he said, Pharaoh, aren't you the one that who wrote this and signed it? And you said the one who pretends to be God deserves to be drowned in the sea. Then Pharaoh only said, لا إله إلا الذي آمنت به بنو إسرائيل. Until all wealth is aggregated in few hands and the republic is destroyed. Thank you for sharing. I see you soon.